The Vikings believed in many gods and goddesses. Among them were two great families of gods, the Aesir and the Vanir. Their stories were told in songs and carved into stones. These stones, called runestones or picture stones, were often placed near graves or as memorials. The images on these stones tell us about the Viking world and their beliefs. Today, we will explore the myths of the Aesir and Vanir as they appear on Viking burial stones. Long ago, before the world was as we know it, the Aesir and the Vanir were separate tribes of gods. The Aesir were gods of war, kingship, and power. Odin, Thor, and Tyr were among them. The Vanir were gods of fertility, nature, and magic. Ardre, Freyr, and Freyr were the most famous of the Vanir. At first, the two tribes fought each other, but after a great war, they made peace and exchanged hostages. The Vanir sent Njord, Freyja, and Freyr to live with the Aesir, while the Aesir sent Honir and Mimir to the Vanir. This story of war and peace was important to the Vikings. They carved scenes from these myths into stones to honor their gods and the dead. One famous stone, the Stora Hammars stone, shows a scene that many believe is connected to the Vanir. On it, we see a man lying down while another figure holds a spear over him. Some think this is the death of the god Balder, son of Odin. Others believe it shows a sacrifice to the Vanir gods for good harvests. Another stone, the Tängelgårda stone, has carvings of warriors and ships. But the most interesting part is a figure holding a large staff. Many scholars think this is Odin, the allfather of the Aesir. He is often shown with his spear, Gungnir. Odin was a god of war and wisdom, but he was also a god of death. Vikings believed he chose which warriors would die in battle and which would live. Some stones show Odin welcoming the dead into Valhalla, his great hall in the afterlife. The Vanir gods also appear on these stones, though not as often as the Aesir. Freyja, the goddess of love and magic, is sometimes shown with a necklace called Brisingamen. She was also a goddess of war, and took half of the slain warriors to her hall Folkvanger. Her brother Freyr, the god of fertility and kingship, is sometimes seen with a large boar or a ship. These symbols tell us about his power over the land and sea. One of the most mysterious stones is the Ardre VIII stone. It has many small pictures that tell a story. Some think these images show the travels of the gods, or even the great battle between the Aesir and the Vanir. There is a ship, a tree, and figures that might be Odin and Tyr, but the meaning is not clear. This is the magic of these stones. They make us think and wonder. The Vikings did not write long books about their gods. Instead, they carved their stories into stone. These carvings were not just art. They were messages to the gods and to the dead. When a Viking warrior died, his family might raise a stone with images of the gods to protect his spirit. They believed the gods would guide the dead to the afterlife. Some stones show scenes of battles, but others show peaceful moments. The gods feasting, Freyr giving blessings to the land, or Freyja riding her chariot pulled by cats. These images remind us that the Vikings saw their gods in all parts of life: war, harvest, love, and death. The stories of the Aesir and Vanir were not just old tales to the Vikings. They were living beliefs. The gods controlled the wind, the waves, and the fate of men. By carving these myths into stone, the Vikings made sure the gods would not forget them. And today, these stones still speak to us, telling us of a time when gods walked among men and the world was full of magic. As the centuries passed, the old beliefs faded. Christianity came to the north, and the worship of the Aesir and Vanir ended. But the stones remained. Farmers plowed the fields and sometimes found these ancient carvings. They did not always understand them, but they knew they were important. Now, archaeologists and historians study these stones to learn about the Viking Age. Each stone is like a page from a lost book. The images are not always clear, but they give us clues. A ship might mean the journey to the afterlife. A spear might mean Odin's presence. A woman with a necklace might be Freyja. The more we study these stones, the more we understand the Viking world. The gods of the Aesir and Vanir are gone, but their stories live on. In the carvings on these ancient stones, we see their faces. We hear their tales. And we remember a time when the gods were as real as the wind and the rain. The Vikings are gone, but their stones still stand, silent and strong, keeping the old myths alive. So the next time you see a picture of a Viking runestone, look closely. The lines and shapes are not just decorations. They are stories carved in stone, waiting to be read. Stories of gods and heroes, of war and peace, of life and death. The Aesir and the Vanir may belong to the past, but their legends will never die. They are carved not just in stone, but in the memory of the world.